working
True,
intervals.
false?
That is fair. That is pretty true. Yeah, I would say that's got a lot of solid science behind that. I will tell you this: if you're really interested in cutting your body, in getting your body lean, and I'm not going to say this, and I don't want the folks to run out there and do this because if you haven't been to the doctor, you need to get a physical and let them know what you want to do. We always say that, but you got to check and make sure your heart's capable of doing this, your muscles are capable of doing this. But if you're really interested in getting cut, then the way to do this is through high intensity training, where short sprints, and they're done in intervals. Now, can you increase the length of those and turn those from sprints into long runs? You can. You can start with 30-yard sprints. You run a 30, you rest. You run a 30, you rest. You run a 30, you rest. And you do that in a set of 5 sprints. And then you rest 2 to 3 minutes and come back and you do that again. You can increase the number of sets of doing those sprint repetitions or intervals. You can take that and you can move that into a longer sprint, which becomes a run. And now you're going from a 30-yard to a 100-yard, from 100 to a 200, and from a 200 to a full 400 around the track, where you do repeat 4s. This will burn like nobody's business.
And the reason I ask, being a novice with this, why does that burn more with the start-stop, fast-slow mentality more than a continuous, let's say, 30, 45-minute run?
The body begins to, like everything, the body begins to get very used to what you're doing with that run. And this law of adaptation sets in very quickly with those runs. So it becomes much more difficult for the human body to deal with all of this sprinting and the recovery on that. It's very highly metabolic, so jacks that metabolism. And it becomes very anaerobic in nature, which means that you're not using a lot of oxygen, so you're out of breath very quickly, and that leads to building muscle. So you're really, the faster you move that body, the more muscle output you're using, and you are really building muscle. And when you build muscle, the more muscle you build on a body, the faster the rate of burning and the more you burn those calories. You turn your body into, I say this all the time, a fat-burning furnace. That's why lifting weights and doing muscle-building work is so beneficial if an individual truly wants to keep body fat off of them. And that's why you see well-built people who usually stay pretty well-built and pretty lean.
If you get to a point where a lot of people plateau and they feel that they're not losing any more weight or they're not seeing any more growth, that's where people will go from 1 day off to 2 days off and then to a week, and then they fall off the train. What can someone do to maybe increase that muscle size? I mean, are there supplements out there? You hear about all these different things like creatine and all these things. Good, bad, harmful to your bodies?
Not really necessary for most people. If an individual is trying to look pretty incredible and change unbelievably in terms of the look of their muscles and the shape of their body because they have something to do that for, that's a whole different ballgame. But if we're talking about the person who's viewing this right now and they just want to be healthy, they want to be strong or stronger, they want to have a look that says, hey, I'm fit, I'm lean, you know, I don't carry a lot of body fat on me, I fit well in my clothing, and I'm comfortable at the beach in my swimsuit, then it's not necessary to take in a lot of supplements because remember, supplements aren't going to build muscle. Supplements might aid in bringing in a little protein, in bringing in a couple of other nutrients which can help the process. But what helps is eating the right kinds of foods. We can't get away from that. Eating whole foods, eating quality foods, getting them in on time, eating the right sized meal at the time. You can only use what your body needs, and working out on a consistent basis. Consistency is the key.
What do you do when you try to downsize your meals and then you eat and then you're still hungry? After a while, does that hunger start to go away?
Yeah, I tell folks, especially those who've used to eating huge meals, and in this country we're used to huge meals. Go to any restaurant, the meals are larger today and presented to you in much greater volume today than they were 20 years ago. We're just used to that, and restaurants are giving you what the consumer wants, so you'll never go back there, and you're paying more for it. But we're paying in many ways too. We're getting fatter. I tell folks that initially, if you're a person who's used to really gorging themselves and eating more food than you need at one meal sitting, you're just going to have to try to have some discipline the first week and a half. And then after anywhere from 6 to 12 days, 6 to 10 days, the body is going to start getting used to eating a smaller portion. Once you're used to eating smaller portions, it really shouldn't be a problem. The human body can adapt pretty well. Remember, you can only use what you need. And if you don't need it, you can't use it, you're going to turn it into fat.
So your body starts to adapt along the lines of, I'm going to get less food. So I need to realize how I'm going to use this food better.
Exactly, exactly. So one of the ways we can do this is to increase the amount of exercise that you get, or the amount of activity that you get, which then draws, you're tearing down tissue, you're tearing down nerve endings and bone and muscle, and the body says, ooh, I need some things that are going to help repair that. And so you can utilize these whole foods and these better foods that you're eating in a much better way simply by adding that activity level.
Let's say you're working out, you work out every day, and you stop for 2 or 3 days per se. How quickly does it take to start losing muscle or to kind of atrophy and go back to where you were before?
Not bad if you knock off 2 or 3 days. And in some cases, that's a good thing to do if you're used to training consistently over a period of time. It's always you could take a week off. And just taking a week's, if you've been working out for the last 15 weeks or 10 weeks and you've been hitting it pretty solid, you never miss, it's probably a good idea to take a week off briefly every once in a while, because your body rests, it recharges, and then you come back really strong. But the body will start to decondition in as little as 2 weeks. And when we hit the 3rd week, you're seeing some real degradation in muscle tissue, and you're going to understand and feel it when you try to come back. You're going to feel weaker because you are.
Coach, we've got about 3 minutes left here on the show, trying to pull everything that we've talked about today, whether it's for the novice out there who's just starting on their New Year's resolution, or somebody who's been working out forever that goes to a gym, that goes to a trainer like yourself. What would be the one concept that you would kind of want to push right now?
Well, I know at my company, at Hammer Bodies, the one thing that we always keep in mind for everybody across the board is the individual must understand that things don't happen overnight. This is January. Everybody wants it to happen by March. It's not going to happen. You'll see some changes, and if you're consistent, it'll be good for you, but you've got to have some patience, and that patience is extremely important when it comes to changing your body. It's a human body, and as you've seen in some of the pro football this past season, human bodies get injured very easily, and it takes a long time for them to come back. So have some patience. Don't push yourself beyond what you can do. Patience, number one. Consistency, number two. No one ever changed unless they continued to do it. So having some discipline and some consistency in getting your workouts in is extremely important. And then the third thing, don't be afraid to get information, understand it's good information, and use that information.
Remember, it took you a long time to get to where you're at. You're not going to get back to that point in, a fourth of the time. The other thing, it comes down to a simple ratio. You've got to burn more than you take in. I mean, it's at the basis of everything we talk about. That's kind of the bottom line, isn't it?
If you're interested in losing pounds of body fat, you're going to have to burn more, because you can easily, and we have a nation that does this, you can easily out-eat your training program.
Coach, on the next show when you come back, I've got a lot of things to talk to you about. Too bad the show isn't an hour or maybe 4 hours long. But I've seen some news over the past couple of days about these gyms that you have to be overweight to belong to these gyms. I mean, it seems like things are different every time you're on the show. So when you come back on, we're going to talk about that.
We can do it.
Appreciate it. As always, Coach Hammer from Hammer Bodies. Custom Fitness. Thanks for joining us here on the show tonight. We'll see you tomorrow right here on News 20 on GTN. Have a good evening.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That moment?
It was a moment that changed my life. I'd been training with my team for months, and now we had been called up for the first time. The real deal. Wildfires were getting dangerously close to homes. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
Be out there. Be out there.
Be out there. Be out there.
Time was, kids did what came naturally. Spending free time running barefoot through the grass, wading knee-deep in streams, climbing to the tallest branch. But today, American kids are more likely found texting, watching TV, or gazing at a computer screen. They spend more than 7 hours in front of electronic media. Something essential has been lost. Childhood's connection to the natural world. That's why National Wildlife Federation created the Be Out There movement. Kids move indoors causes a host of problems, from obesity to ADHD. But outdoor play can go a long way to improving kids' health, body, mind, and spirit. It helps them stay fit, enhances creativity and attention spans, and could even make them better students. Do your part. Be a part of Be Out There. There's a reason why they call it the great outdoors. Learn more at beoutthere.org.
Our day starts very early. We never know exactly when we'll have a full house, but whatever comes up, travel arrangements, birthdays, homecomings, emails back home, we'll do our very best to see they get what they need. It's the very least we can do, considering what they do for us. If you want to make a difference in the life of someone serving our country, if you really want to make a difference, the USO is how it's done.
Find out more at USO.org. The USO, until everyone comes home.
When Americans volunteer to serve their country promises to take care of them when they come home. For a paralyzed veteran, day-to-day living is a major challenge. Paralyzed Veterans of America works to make sure our veterans get all the benefits they were promised from the country they proudly served. A spinal cord injury is an injury for life.
And at Paralyzed Veterans, we are their partners for life. Thank you for helping us help America's veterans.
Thank you. Our day starts very early. We never know exactly when we'll have a full house, but whatever comes up, travel arrangements, birthdays, homecomings, emails back home, we'll do our very best to see they get what they need. It's the very least we can do, considering what they do for us. If you want to make a difference in the life of someone serving our country, if you really want to make a difference, the USO is how it's done.
Find out more at USO.org. The USO, until everyone comes home.
When Americans volunteer to serve their country promises to take care of them when they come home. For a paralyzed veteran, day-to-day living is a major challenge. Paralyzed Veterans of America works to make sure our veterans get all the benefits they were promised from the country they proudly served. A spinal cord injury is an injury for life.
And at Paralyzed Veterans, we are their partners for life. Thank you for helping us help America's veterans.
Thank you.